hinted at my love for Scooby Doo quite a few times over the years on this channel, so I think it's about time I made a video on it. Honestly, it's a bit overdue at this point. Scooby Doo has a special place in my heart. I watched all of the shows and movies all the time growing up, and honestly, I still watch them. Maybe it's the nostalgia talking, but I still enjoy it and find it funny. And you know that every time I hear the song Wanted Dead or Alive by Bon Jovi, my first thought is the iconic scene from the live action where Fred jousts with the Black Knight. But even though I love the Scooby-Doo franchise, I will be the first to admit that there are some stinkers in there, and we're going to be discussing one in particular today. That being Scooby-Doo and the Reluctant Werewolf. This might be the worst Scooby movie ever. I watched it once as a kid and hated it. Then a few years ago, my friend and I tried to watch it as a joke, but we got maybe 20 minutes into it before we had to turn it off. Recently, I finally watched this movie again for this video, and I had to stop myself from turning it off 20 minutes in again. It's that bad. The basic synopsis is Shaggy gets turned into a werewolf by Dracula, and he'll only change him back if he wins in a race against a bunch of monsters. It sounds like an interesting and unique concept, but you will learn very quickly that this movie is very hard to get through, and it is completely and utterly boring. Now, there are actually some tells that this movie is going to be bad before you even watch it. First of all, Fred, Daphne, and Velma aren't in this movie. 3 out of the 5 members of Mystery Inc. are missing. That is not okay, right, Scoob? I thought it'd be kind of fun if I had this Scooby-Doo plush in the video, and I wasn't sure how else to introduce it. So here it is. I'm just gonna hold it the rest of the video now. I don't even know if you can see it. Like, can you see it if it's down here? I don't know. My camera doesn't have a flippy outy screen. I'm just hold it. Anyway, if those 3 aren't gonna be in the movie, who will be accompanying Shaggy and Scooby instead? None other than the universally hated Scrappy Doo. Practically no one likes Scrappy because he's an annoying little twerp. I mean, he was made the villain in one of the live action movies because it's a well-known fact that he's hated, and we're stuck with him in this movie. The final tell that the Reluctant Werewolf is going to be bad is Red Shirt Shaggy. As I'm sure many of you know, Shaggy wears a green shirt, but sometimes, just sometimes, he wears a red shirt. Practically every bit of media that Red Shirt Shaggy is in is terrible. It sucks. Red Shirt Shaggy is like a bad omen. If you see him, run. Well, unless it's Scooby-Doo in the cyber chase. He's briefly in that one, but he's just an AI. It's not the real Shaggy. That one's good. Anyway, the missing members of Mystery Inc., Scrappy, and Red Shirt Shaggy are already a recipe for disaster. And then you throw them into this plot? This movie never stood a chance. But enough of my rambling. Let me take you through The Reluctant Werewolf so you can discover why this might be the worst Scooby-Doo movie. So the movie begins with a narrator telling us that Shaggy is a race car driver, and Scooby and Scrappy are his assistants. You're just going to have to accept the fact that Shaggy is a race car driver because the movie will not elaborate on why or how that happened. Then we're introduced to Shaggy's girlfriend, Googie. Yes, her name really is Googie. And the narrator describes her as adorable yet liberated.
Cheered on by his adoring but liberated girlfriend, Googie.
What does that even mean? This movie is Googie's one and only appearance in the Scooby-Doo franchise, and I thank God for that every day. Then we're taken to Dracula's castle in Transylvania, where he's meeting with all the other monsters. The Monster Road Rally is coming up, but their werewolf decided to retire and move to Florida. Dracula is upset because all the monsters in the realm need to participate in the race. I guess Florida isn't part of the realm. Also, if there's no other werewolves around, then technically every monster in the realm is participating. There just isn't a werewolf. I want to make it clear that there isn't a rule stating that he has to have a werewolf in the race. Dracula is just very insistent on there being one for some reason. He's like, no, I need a werewolf. Why are all these other monsters not enough for you, Dracula? He looks in the records book, and it states that every 500 years, the moon is in the perfect position for 3 nights to create a new werewolf. And that just so happens to be now. The book also shows a picture of who the werewolf should be, and it's Shaggy. Dracula is all, what kind of name is Shaggy? Except he pronounces it Shaggy.
Shaggy! Shaggy! Shaggy!
He decides to put the Hunch Bunch in charge of turning Shaggy into a werewolf. The Hunch Bunch are these 2 dudes. There's Brunch, who talks all smart and sophisticated, and Crunch, who talks like the Tasmanian devil.
Blah, blah.
That night, Shaggy and Scooby are watching a horror movie. Scooby gets scared and freaks out. Shaggy yells at him and tells him that the monsters aren't real. Who are you and what have you done with Shaggy? One of his defining character traits is that he's a coward, so why is he acting like that? When it's time for bed, Scrappy is like, boy, wasn't that a great movie? He starts recounting it, which scares Scooby. Scrappy, you weren't even watching the movie with them. Scooby keeps seeing the Hunch Bunch outside and hears them talking about how they're going to turn Shaggy into a werewolf. He tries to warn Shaggy, but the two keep disappearing every time he tries to show him. Thanks to Scooby's efforts, the Hunch Bunch wasn't able to get to Shaggy, so they follow him into a grocery store and try to turn him there.
Honestly, the way these kids dress nowadays.
They're wearing striped shirts and pants. What's wrong with that? They fail at the store too, so they try again at the drive-in. Shaggy is on a date with Googie, but Scooby and Scrappy are in the back seat, and he ignores every attempt Googie makes to flirt with him. I don't think Shaggy will ever love a woman as much as he loves his dog. The Hunch Bunch are able to successfully turn Shaggy into a werewolf, but he has the hiccups, which makes him switch back and forth between human and wolf. Googie, for some reason, gets really mad at Shaggy for having hiccups and yells at him to go get something to help with them. He turns into a werewolf as he walks away, and all of the people at the drive-in start to scream. Shaggy's like, why do people freak out over these scary movies? Okay, yeah, you are not Shaggy. He goes to the snack stand as a werewolf, and the guy working there is not fazed by it at all. Shaggy hiccups back into a human, and only then does the guy start to get weirded out by his appearance. I think that means he finds Shaggy ugly. Scooby shows Shaggy what he looks like, and he freaks out. Then the police and all the people at the drive-in start to chase him. He gets into the car and speeds off, but they all drive after him. What is their plan for when they catch him? You can't arrest a werewolf. Are they just going to beat him up? Eventually, they escape the angry mob, but the Hunch Bunch put them to sleep with some magic dust and carry them to Transylvania with their helicopter.
The master will have his reluctant werewolf.
Haha, they said the name of the movie. They wake up in Dracula's castle with all the monsters in front of them. Dracula explains that he wants Shaggy to participate in the race. They're like, no, and try to leave, but Dracula traps them and is all, you have to. Why? Why do you need a werewolf? I don't understand. He locks them in a room at the top of the castle. Then a random disembodied voice tells them that there's a secret passage in the fireplace.
Over here. Try the fireplace. It's got a hidden door at the back.
Don't ask me whose voice that is because I have no clue. They go through the passage and end up at a super lit monster party. Then they walk into a room, and there's just a wall of spikes moving towards them. Dracula says he'll stop the spikes if he participates in the race, but Shaggy still says no. Dracula promises that if he races and wins, he'll turn him back into a human and he can go home. Shaggy agrees to this deal. The next morning, they eat scream beans for breakfast. They're called scream beans, not howl beans. They decide to do a test run of the track, but Dracula keeps trying to kill them with the traps for some reason. You were so desperate to have a werewolf in your race, so why are you trying to kill him before it even starts? Also, Shaggy keeps referring to Scooby, Scrappy, and Googie as gang, and I don't like it. This isn't the gang. This is. Then Dracula and the Hunch Bunch mess with his car and plan to keep him up all night so he'll lose. If you want him to lose so badly, why did you even force him to race in the first place? Also, they show Shaggy peacefully sleeping through all of their attempts to keep him up at night, but he's still super tired in the morning. It's fine though, he's woken up by Googie's kiss. Ew.
Just listen to that crowd.
Yay!
Same. So that joke was kind of funny at first, but then they repeat it over and over again.
Yay! 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 Yay!
They really beat the dead horse with that one. Also, I was thinking that maybe the reason Dracula was so insistent on having a werewolf is that the audience expected one and they'd be disappointed otherwise. But based on the repeated yays, it seems like they're there against their will and they don't care. Yeah, I've officially given up on trying to figure out why Dracula wants a werewolf in the race. It's time for the race to start. Shaggy and Scooby will be in the car together, while Googie and Scrappy will ride around and radio in support. The last half of the movie is the race, and it is painfully boring. Most of it is just shots that look like this. Yeah, it's awful. It turns out that 40 minutes of cartoon racing is not even remotely fun to watch. At one point, even the crowd falls asleep. It's like the creators knew this wasn't entertaining. During the race, Shaggy fixes the messed up car they gave him and installs a bunch of crazy features like a spring and a rocket. I don't know why he doesn't just use those the whole time, because he could end the race in an instant and then I wouldn't have to watch as much of this. The Hunch Bunch tries to stop him from winning, Dracula provides terrible commentary, and this happens.
Boy, is this the Transylvania choo-choo?
At one point, they try to drop Scrappy and Googie into some lava. Do it! See if I care! Shaggy wins the race, but Dracula's like, nope, I'm not gonna change you back. They steal the records book because it says how to turn Shaggy back, and they drive away. There's a wacky chase scene that lasts until Dracula falls into the ocean and is pursued by a shark. Back at home, they turn Shaggy into a human and all is well. But then Dracula and the Hunch Bunch appear in their window and say, "We're back!" And the movie ends. Ooh, a cliffhanger. So that is Scooby Doo and the Reluctant Werewolf. I hope that I never have to watch that movie again. I love Scooby Doo, and there are a lot of banger films in that franchise, but this is not one of them. It is so dreadfully boring. The first half of the movie wasn't entertaining, but the second half is even worse because it's just this. You're stuck with Red Shirt Shaggy, who is not in character, Scrappy is there, and there's too much Googie and not enough Scooby. Seriously, who thought Googie was a good idea? Just give me Fred, Daphne, and Velma. On top of all that, Dracula is beyond annoying and confusing. He doesn't actually need a werewolf in the race, but he goes through all the effort of getting one anyway, and then he does everything he can to make said werewolf lose. Why? What was the point? And then he refused to turn Shaggy back in the end. What reason do you have for wanting to keep him a werewolf? Also, I really didn't mention it throughout the video, but the comedy in this movie is terrible. It is just so corny.
I've seen cars with tails fins, but tails fins? How cute!
$1 million pile-up!
Tracky, you've never seen $1 million.
So what? It looks like something I've never seen before.
Scooby Doo has been funny long before this.
We ran into some unnavigable nubulation.
You're right, Velma. Whatever you said.
We gotta get that key and get out of here. Got it. Now we can get out of here.
Which way did they go?
They went that way.
Oh, thanks, man.
It's all right.
What happened? But okay, I think that does it for the reluctant werewolf. Now I need to go watch the greatest animated Scooby movie of all time, Zombie Island. Seriously, if you're going to watch a Scooby Doo movie, pick this one. Like I said before, Scooby has a special place in my heart, and I have seen all of the shows and movies a billion times, and I still like to watch them to this day sometimes. So, if you'd like to see any more Scooby-related videos, I can definitely do that. Oh, also, I was going to post a different video today, but then I realized that this one would be better going into the Halloween weekend than the other one I had planned. And I got a haircut between now and when I filmed that one, so just prepare for my hair to randomly be longer next week. But okay, I think that is going to do it for me and Scooby Doo here. If you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe to see more content from me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye! This Scooby plush used to be able to talk. There's like a button in his ear. I can't find it anymore. Can't talk anymore. Do you know how old this thing is? I actually don't know. I'm 24, so it's probably like 22.